webinar brings success and growth in each and every one of us. We thank you, Father, for this precious time that you have given us. In our Almighty's precious name we pray. Amen. I would like to say a few words about, I would like to ask Father Director to say a few words, Father. Over to Father.
A very good morning to Luke, Dhanraj and Aaron, Anna for having accepted to share your experiences and your knowledge with the participants at this time of crucial pandemic COVID-19. And it is really a challenging for all of us how we are going to face our life, the future, and this COVID-19 has challenged most of our lifestyle. So at this time, I'm really happy to see Luke, Dhanraj and Sharon, Anna for having accepted our invitation, and all the faculty members of XIBA and other institutes and all other participants and my dear loving students of XIBA and other research scholars. And this HR is a multifaceted function that handles all the issues pertaining to employees, not only employees, even at the individual level. So therefore, this seminar or this webinar will definitely give us insight on how we will be in post-COVID phase 2.0. And these two eminent speakers are with us to share their experience. And let us listen to them and take something out of their sharing. Definitely, our webinar meeting and this sharing of our knowledge will enrich our lifestyle. So therefore, I warmly welcome all of you and may God bless all of us. All the best. God bless you. Thank you, Rita Madam.
Thank you, Father. Now, since we've got a technical glitch here, I would like to save Mr. Luke's talk to the second part. And I would like to invite Sharon now. Before that, I would like to say a few words with Sharon here. She's my own niece. Sharon Hannah is my own niece. She is the principal architect of Trinity Architects Madurai. To highlight about her, she is an accredited professional certified by Green Building Council. She had been a promising student of Silicon University, and many times she was lauded for her outstanding performances in her school as well as in her college. She is an exceptional orator and vocalist as well. She is now here with us to give us her insights on HR and being an architect. She is going to talk about HR and space correlation, which will become the need of the art in a few days from now. Over to Sharon now. Warm welcome to Sharon.
Thank you. I would like to thank the management of XIBA for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. And hello and welcome to the conversation today. I'm thankful that you've joined to talk about a more holistic approach as we return to our office and start planning that return. We'll focus on how do we create an experience that goes beyond restrictions and what the employees cannot do. So we'll focus more on the experiences. And also, we are already aware of some things when it comes to office spaces, such as there'll be an end to open floor plans. Open floor plans are basically an office space which has no walls, no barriers. So an employee from the east side of the office will be able to view an employee from the west side. So that's basically an open floor plan. Or even though it's aesthetically very pleasing, I think that it will be the end of an open floor plan in the coming times. And also, another important thing is there will be an end to conference rooms, because conference rooms is a room where more than 8 to 30 people will be there in the same room. So that is also not possible hereafter, because only 2 to 3 people can be in the same room. So there's that. And also, we need to find creative and interactive ways for us to, discuss and collaborate. So we'll focus on that as well. So these are some of the things that we're already aware of. And also thinking about all of this, there's also another thing that we're aware of. One thing that we also know is we won't know how our office spaces will look like 3 months from now, let alone a year from now. So keeping that in mind, we need to be flexible in order to accept new challenges and face them with a flexible state of mind. Because some of the policies that work for one organization may not work for the other organization. So we need to be flexible so that we can work fluidly. It'll be a matter of trial and error. And also, the heart of today's conversation will be supporting all the three aspects of well being, which is physical aspect, social, and the human aspect. So, all of these constituted to the state of a being. So, even though physical aspect is very important, but so is social and human aspects. So, I would like to anchor today's conversation considering all of these three aspects. So right now I'd like to share my PPT for a better understanding. So talking about a holistic approach, what do you think, what should be included in a holistic approach to returning to office? So first of all, there's been a shift in what's going on in real estate, given the fact that many of the employees have been successful working from home. So let's spend a little time about what that does to the policy changes. And secondly, physical space and protocols have been getting the most focus, most importance, but so is important the policy and the processes, because developing guidelines and giving it to the employees will help them, help them accustom themselves into the re-entry plan. And also, let's not focus more on the physical space, because we need to align the physical space having in mind the human and the social concerns of our employees, which is very careful. And last but not the least is managing change, helping employees get into this transition, just like accommodating ourselves into a new building. So we can't just, you better show up tomorrow. We can't just say that. So we need to help them prepare into this transition. So in terms of real estate, this is a survey that was taken globally between offices and employees. So to my surprise, I found out that more than 60 to 70% of the offices will be wanting their employees to work from home, and half of them plan to implement a staggered approach, which means not all of the employees will be in the office building at the same time. On the other hand, a survey from the employees revealed that 70% of them will want to work from home at least 1 day a week, and 61% have considered leaving because of lack of flexibility. So these are some of the choices our employees will be, expecting in the future, and we need to rethink our policies on how to deal with all of this. So basically, all the time, organizations and various offices have been boasting on the choices they have given to their employees, like, hey, we've given our employees personal workstations, common workstations, amenity spaces, lounges, or recreational areas. So all of these have been choices that has been always given to the employees before this pandemic. So since taking the scenario that we are in right now, does choice now include working from home as well? So this is a question every organization need to answer. So now that we are aware of what are the things that won't work, and the mindset that we need to be, and the balance that we need to possess, and keeping in mind all of that, I thought it would be helpful to develop a 4-step holistic re-entry plan. So first step, just like any other project, we need to identify the correct problem, and only then can we find proper solutions for that problem. So first step is very critical, which is the discovery phase. In this phase, it's very critical because we need to establish the right team with the right members. So a team consisting from leadership, the HR, IT, legal, and the design partners. And also, since for this, to be a holistic re-entry plan, we need to be focused more on the employee themselves. So in order to do that, we need to survey our employees so that we can understand the feeling and the mindset of our workforce, and also understand the enablers and the inhibitors for them to come back to work. And also, from the survey that we've taken, we will now have an approximate idea of how many employees will be willing to come back to work. And with that amount, with that approximate number, we'll be able to, for direct plans and policies on how to integrate them into the existing floor plan. And also, we need to be aware of the key spatial risk points. I'll talk about what are spatial risk points in the following slides. So with the physical space underway, we need to develop the policies. So policy, we need to help our employees to help them transition into the a new workplace, and when they come back to work, they need to be able to know what to do, and they shouldn't be all over the place. So they need policies and guidelines to help them through this phase. And then managing change, considering all the three aspects of the state of being, the whole social, physical, and the human aspects. So these are the four steps. We'll go into these 4 steps detailedly. So the first step is the discovery phase. Like I said, this is very critical. This is very important. The reason why we need to set up a team is because each team member, there will be so many perspectives. People have different perspectives. So how do we bring all of these perspectives into line? So that is the reason why we need to have a team. The reason why we need a leader is someone who's very important, and that is someone who gets information firsthand. So when an information is coming from someone important to the employees, that information becomes important and they tend to, follow it. So that is why we need a leader and someone important. Also is HR, because HR is important because a lot of these changes involve policy. So when it comes to policy changes, the HR people know what to do. So they are very much needed. But legal is also very important because there will be a lot of conflicting perspectives and expectations. So legal will help in that. For example, HR might say the employees need flexibility. So we need to provide our employees with laptops, each and every employee with a laptop. And the IT might freak out saying, whoa, wait, that's not possible. How can we provide each and every employee with a laptop? It's going to take several months for us to do that. So it's very important that we have each and every member of the team on the same page. And last but not the least, design partners are also very important because these are the people who know how to redesign the office creatively, keeping in mind all the social distancing and all the space distancing criteria. So these guys are also very, very important. So a team should be having all of these very important leaders. So for this to be, like I said, for this to be a holistic re-entry plan, it should always be human-centric. So how do we make this human-centric? Like again, we need to take a survey. So this is also another global survey, and from this, it is evident that 66% of the employees are very anxious or a little hesitant to come back to work, which is quite understandable. And on the other hand, 30% of the employees are finding remote collaboration difficult. They're finding remote collaboration, which is working from home, difficult because it's not the same, talking face to face is not the same. So that's obviously kind of difficult. And also 57% of the employees are concerned about office cleanliness, which is also very understandable. So if you sum up these, it comes to about 70%. So 70% of the employees want to work from home. So they have been effective working from home. So the 30% of the employees who are looking forward to have direct contact with the team are the people who are willing to come back to work. So we need to take both of these categories into mind and have a balanced policy making. I want all of you to take a look at this picture. What do you see? You are immediately drawn on to the red X's on the furniture and on the floor. There's a red line on the floor. I highly advise you to not do this, because think of what this is going to implicate, right? You imagine yourself entering into a building and everywhere you see is red X's and red lines drawn on the floor. That's going to set a very negative mindset, right? We want our employees, we want to reinforce positive mindset, positive and motivating mindset for our employees when they come back, not a negative mindset by drawing red X's and red lines. So when a user comes into the office space or into any other space, it has to be positive. We should not, induce our employees to think about someone who is sick of COVID and is admitted in the hospital every time they see an X. So having your staff come back fearful or afraid is also a no-go. That's not going to work. So these are some high-level goals that I try to formulate. These are high level enough to fit into every organization. The first and foremost is being safe. Obviously, we need to be safe. So even though being safe right now is very important and is frequently talked about, we shouldn't overlook that. Okay, we need to constantly remind ourselves to be safe, and also remind our neighbor also to be safe. So there's that. And while we're being safe, we also need to be human. Let's not consider our employees like a bunch of names on a spreadsheet. They are workers, they're our friends, they're our work family. So let's be human and be kind to to one another. So the next thing is being flexible. Being flexible is very important. I want all of you to remember that. And being effective and being equitable. There are people working in the office and people working at home. So how we shouldn't make the employees working from home feel like second-class citizens. We should make sure that they are also equally involved in the conversation, just as much as the employees already in the office. We need to make that collaboration very effective and make it user-friendly for all types of employees. So armed with the information from the discovery phase, let's move on to step 2, which is the physical space. So when it comes to physical space, we need to understand why an employee would not want to come back to work. So these are some of the basic reasons why an employee would not feel like coming back to work. The first and foremost would be taking care of a child, because childcare is not open yet, and having someone to take care of our children inside, letting them inside our houses is not possible right now. So an employee might have to stay back at home and take care of their child, so they won't be able to come back to work. And also taking care of elders, because now since hospitals are more focused on COVID patients, they are not very much entertaining to admit another sick patient or an elder patient into the hospital, sorry. So an employee might have to stay back at home to take care of them. And also, we shouldn't be focused only on the cleanliness inside the office alone. We should also be considerate of our employee safety right from the time they leave their house and the time they reach work. Because in between, who knows where they're stopping, who knows where they're going, who knows by what they're coming to the office. So we need to be aware of that safety as well. And also, if an employee is taking care of somebody sick, they might not be able to come back to work. And lastly, even though if an employee does not have a child, does not have an old person to take care of, or doesn't have to come through a public transport, if none of these are there, but still if they're feeling scared to come back to work, that could also be a reason why they're not feeling like coming back to work. So these are some of the basic reasons why an employee would not feel like coming back to work. So before we go on to making the policies, we need to determine the needs. Only when we know what we need is then we'll be able to make our plans and formulate our guidelines. So for to have a better understanding, I categorize 3, each having different employee numbers. Okay, so let's take company 1. Company 1 has a total number of 80 people working in it, out of which 10% might stay in containment zones, because if you're in a containment zone, you can't go anywhere. So if they may be stuck at home because of that. And 30% of the employees might have elders or children or sick people to take care of. So if you calculate all of that, the staff working from home would be 32. So minusing 32 from the total number of staff will leave us with 48 people who are willing to come to work and work in the office. So out of that 48, maybe 26% might want flexible workforce, which is flexibility to work from home at least 1 day a week. So some of the employees might want that. So apart from them, the people who are full-fledgedly coming back to work, from Monday to Friday will be 36. So those are the number of seats that will be required for a company having 80 employees in the beginning. So with this, you can, maybe know where you fit in and do the math yourself. So these are some of the, social distancing guidelines, space guidelines. Okay, like I said, I'll tell you about the risk points in the later slides. So what is a risk point? A risk point is from the entry to, you should consider risk points from the entry to the coffee maker, to the printing machine, to the water cooler. So these are all some of the key risk points. But if you're investigate, you can find more risk points. But we need to make rules and formulate rules around these risk points, which is very critical. And also the good old social distancing, which is the 6 feet social distancing guidelines. So if we're going to follow 6 feet social distancing in the office, obviously not everybody can come back to work. So that's that. And one-way circulation. So what is one-way circulation? It's basically, if there's a corridor, only one way you can go through the corridor. You cannot have another person coming in the opposite direction. So that's one-way circulation. Even though this might not seem logical in the beginning, but if the employees get a hang of it and they get used to it, this can be very, very useful. It's not as complicated as it looks. And we'll talk about the safe test and safe collaborative zones in the following slide. So this is a safe test. So what is a safe test? It's basically a test which is safely distant from the circulation space, from the circulation pathway, and also abides by the 6 feet social distancing. Also remember, in a safe, or if an employee is using a particular safe test, they'll have to have their own keyboards and mouse, and they'll also have to remove their personal effects once they finish work, or they'll never have to bring any of their stuff to work. And another thing to remember is a safe desk might not be safe for the next employee that's coming to work tomorrow if there's a rotation system. So in that case, what we can do is the employee that used the particular desk on day one should be, kind enough for the next employee, and by cleaning the space that we work, scrubbing it down, sanitizing it before they leave, before they go back home. So that's how you can keep a safe desk clean for the next person. And creating safe collaboration zones. So like I said, and this collaboration zone is basically a conference room. So a conference room that was able to accommodate 30 people might not be able to do that anymore. So if you take a look at this picture, it has about capacity of 9 people, but there's only 2 people right there. So this is how it's going to be. So how do we create safe collaboration zone that includes both the employees that are working from home and the employees that are at work? So sometimes there might be collaborations in open spaces and not in the conference rooms. So in that case, in order to make the employees at home feel involved in the conversation, we need to make sure there's video conferencing facilities, webcams, WebEx, so that they don't feel left out, and which makes it more an effective collaboration. That's how we create safe collaboration zones. So this is a floor plan. I want you to take a look at this closely. The blue circles that you see are the safe desks. So if you take a look at this closely, this is an open floor plan, obviously, by the way, and there's a huge table which can accommodate about 8 computers. So right now with the safe desk policy and the 6 feet social distancing, that it can accommodate only about 2 to 4 computers at the same time. And the green circles that you see are the safe permissive collaboration zones. And the huge red arrows are the one-way circulation. If you take a look at this closely, you can, you can see that it's not so complex that like it sounds to be. So this floor plan initially was able to, accommodate 78 employees, but after reinforcing the safety tests and safe collaborative zones and this one-way circulations, right now you can only accommodate 35 to 40 people at the same time. So this means not everybody can come back to work. So we need to take that in mind. So with the physical space underway, let's move on to policy process. This is very important. So some of the considerations that we need to have is, since 70% of the employees are going to be working from home, that is going to be a huge policy change, and managing that change is going to be hectic. So we need to make policy changes around that, and also seating arrangements for the employees. So who's in the office at what time, where are they sitting, who's in the office tomorrow, and when are they coming in, and when do they go out. So if there's a rotation system, so we need to make policies around that, and managing those policies is very important. And when an employee comes back to work, they should know what to expect when they come back, and how to use the spaces and be safe using them, and also make them abide by the social distancing guidelines and by the one-way circulation and all that stuff. So next important is the health and safety policy considerations. Putting up instructional signages everywhere in the office, so that the employees, when they come back into the new workspace, they know exactly where to go, and so that they're not all over the place. But these instructional signages should be up and running before any employee comes back to work. And also, following strict protocols regarding safety and cleanliness throughout the organization is a must, right? From clean desk policy, only then can a safe desk be achieved. And all safety gears, including masks and gloves and all that stuff. Other policy considerations include legal and human resources, which means when will an employee be allowed to travel again? When is it safe to come back to travel? And guest and visitors policy, which means what do we do when a visitor comes to work, when a visitor or a client comes to visit the office? How do we go about that? And food policy, you need to bring your own food, your own water. Should you be sitting at your own desk while you eat your food, or will there be? How do we make rules around the common eating spaces and all that stuff? And legal concerns, like I said, every organization will have its own problems, so we need separate legal policies to make that will fit each and every organization. So stating the change for an organization is a complex one, but I think it's probably a huge understatement. And that is all the more reason why we need to craft a very thoughtful transition plan. See, transitioning into from one state to another is very sometimes it can wear you down. So we need to take our employees into consideration and make sure that they are mentally healthy into this transition plan. Okay. So we need to, like I said, we need to take the mental well-being of an employee very seriously. We all know that, I think we all know that 83% of our employees suffer from work-related stress, which is very, very obvious, right? And out of that 83, 70% of the employees indicated that the pandemic was very stressful for them. So in that case, we need to help them into this new transition. Okay, we need to make sure an employee comes to work feeling secure, feeling safe and motivated and positives. Only then can we get positive, only when an employee is happy and feeling safe, can we get good outcome, good results from that particular employee. At the same time, when an employee comes back to work feeling scared or stressed or afraid or in a very negative mind, think of what the outcome will be from that particular employee. So maintaining the goodwill of our employees' mental well-being will help the particular organization to rise to the top. So let's be aware of that. So we need to find opportunities. when we provide change management, see these are all new changes and new policies. So when we provide our offices, employees with change management, the first and the foremost thing we need to do is the basic SWOT analysis. I hope you know what a SWOT analysis is. So it's basically finding the strengths and the weaknesses, but also the opportunities and the threats. So I think the opportunity here is, finding the positives in the moment. This is the moment of redefinition of the definition of the workplace itself. So let's be more flexible and find opportunities in this, and think about. We also need to think about the mindset of the organization, from the leader to the janitor of the organization. They need to be given fed with positive mindsets. Only then they will be able to find opportunities in this new way of a workplace. So this will ultimately help the organization to be agile and nimble, and rise to the top. So an organization from the top to the bottom will be full of employees who are ready for any kind of challenges. So I'd like to close my PPT here and share my final thoughts. So now that we have our four holistic reentry plan, we have that. So how do we lead the change? We need to, that's a very important question that has to be answered. An organization will have different facets, right? From, like I said, HR, IT, legal, and all that stuff. So how do we, there has to be consistent communication between different facets of the organization, from all and throughout all the levels of the organization, from the leader to the janitor. Only then can we lead the change. Okay, so also we need to practice empathy. This has to be a culture that practices empathy, because each and everybody is different. Each individual is different. We're going through different things. So only when we have empathy, when there's empathy across the board, can this be a successful transition, because we cannot be taking out our frustration on the employees, which is really bad. So let's have empathy to make this a successful transition. And going forward, one of the thoughts was, what if this is not the last time this is going to happen? And I know this is a very scary thing to say. I don't want to panic anybody, but we need to consider this, keeping in mind that each time we open our Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram, you name it, it's flooded with articles saying, oh my God, this is going to come back again in 2 months. Is it what's going to happen next week? So we need to be aware of the future, and develop response plans so that we're ready for anything. And so there's an organization that's filled with employees who are ready for anything. And so perhaps you hear there's another virus outbreak on the other end of the world. Instead of getting all frightened and panicky, we'll have a response plan that will help the work, the work to go fluidly. So that we need to always have a backup plan, plan A, plan B, to always help us through. And also an important thing is we need to build resilience. Building resilience is having adaptability. We need to adapt ourselves to this new set of things, because this is very important. Things are going to keep changing. You cannot be, feel sad about it or feel frustrated about this. So we need to adapt to it and have resilience. So which will again bring us back to flexibility. So we need to have all of that. So having flexibility, empathy, adaptability, and resilience are going to be the key points that you'll be taking from this talk, I hope. And I would like to conclude my talk by asking everybody to be human. We're all in this together. It's not just for you, it's not just for me. We're all in this together. So let's be human, be kind to each other, back each other up, motivate each other, make the other person feel positive if they're feeling negative about this. So let's be human and be flexible. Like I said, it's very important. Having an open mind that is ready for any challenges, that's ready to accept new challenges, and bring it on with that kind of a mindset, and being a better person better person than the ones we were before the pandemic. Let's come out of this stronger and better. So let's be human, be flexible, and be better. With this, I would like to conclude my talk. I hope this was very useful for each and everybody. And lastly, I would like to thank the management of XIBA very much for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharima, for giving us a wonderful snapshot of how our office and workplace should be. Thank you very much for being with us. And let's move on to the next session. And I would like to invite Mr. Luke Danraj for taking up his session on HR Dynamics post-COVID 2.0. And before that, I think Mr. Luke Danraj is online here. Is Elizabeth